Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. My name is John. I'm your host for this instant reaction show after Spurs managed to claw back a 2-2 draw against Manchester United in Ryan Mason's first game. I'm not really sure how I feel after that, HG. We should probably be positive, I guess.
Did you want us to lose the game like certain other Spurs YouTubers who went on TalkSport?
I never want Spurs to lose, ever.
How weird. As Spurs supporters, would there ever be a good time for Spurs to lose? Possibly at some random moment. I don't feel bad about tonight's game, but I wouldn't have felt bad had we lost either, honestly. It's one of those kind of end of season kickabouts tonight. But second half was much better, so it was all right.
Yeah, and Gibbo? Gibbo, what was your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, mate, bit the same. Not sure. Are we going to do it like a shit sandwich? Are we going to go like positives, negative first half, and then how the result made us feel? I don't know, mate. I'm a bit like HG. I felt a bit like apathetic to it, really. It felt just like at one point, like at the end of the season game, we got nothing to play for. Ended up all right in the end. We didn't lose, did we? But could have gone for the win. Never pushed on, but I'm sure we'll get into it in a minute.
It comes to something when we say we didn't lose, and we didn't concede 5 in 20 minutes either, did we? Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Harris, or good morning. It's going to be what 7 a.m. over in Sydney, and he's been up. He's still drunk from last night, he tells us, and he did get up at 5:15 to watch the game. And joining us from the States, Jack. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I hope you all are well. I'm here to talk about this one. You asked me if I was able to come on. I asked you back. I said, will I or can I? And the answer is I can. I'm just not sure I want to. But I'm glad I did. I'm looking forward to this.
Good. Well, as I'm live from the boot room this evening. So I'll try to mix it up.
You're at Anfield? Anfield?
No, not that. Well, I'm early for Sunday. Just getting ahead before we lose there as well. Talking of which, I did think the game, especially when it was 2-1, really reminded me of the game of White Hart Lane against Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium earlier in the season when they went 2-0 up at half time. We got a goal back. Now my cats are arguing. And then, fortunately, we got the second goal, HG. But let's go back.
No.
The team came out. And we were all, I think I was hoping for a 3-5-2 because I was worried about being outmanned in midfield. And we saw it. We all assumed 3-4-3, didn't we, to start off with? And that's pretty much what we got.
Yeah, I know we wouldn't see 4 at the back again. I really believe that wasn't going to happen. But I think if Longley or Davies or both were going to be fit, you knew that one of them was going to play. The issues that we saw in the issues that we've seen all season. So it's weird. We've got lots of attackers. They're the only people that seem to be fit and decent. And 3-5-2 doesn't help them. But yeah, it's a team game. So 3-4-3, you're always nervous. We know that Man United's midfield is very good. We know how class Eriksen can be. Casemiro's obviously done really well since he went there, and Bruno Fernandes is their captain, and a bit of a wanker, but pretty good player. So you definitely feared a little bit when you saw the team sheet, but this has been Spurs all season. So we've won a fair amount of games playing this way. You just never know with us.
Yeah, one of my staff is a Man United fan, and he said to me yesterday, "Oh, Bruno's out apparently." So he said Spurs will win. He says when Bruno's not in the team, he's such an organizer for them, which surprised me a bit because you always think Casemiro or even the centre backs might be. But he said Bruno is the key player for that team, which is really interesting hearing that viewpoint from a United fan. Jack, what was your thoughts on the starting lineup?
Well, if you're familiar with the phrase that democracy is the worst form of government except for every other one, I feel that way about a 3-4-3 right now. It's just with, like you were saying, HG, with who's available and what your options are there. It's like it's the only or worst possible, but only solution that you can put out on the field because you can't go to a back four. They didn't have enough time to train in it. Even when they did have 8 days, they got annihilated. So I think you have to go 3-4-3. I feel you about a 3-5-2, but I agree. You want as many people who can nick a goal as you want on the pitch. So you have to go that way.
I'm really sorry, Kerry.
Thanks, Kerry.
So glum. I think we're just used to it.
Trying.
Oh,
Yeah, we don't know how to react.
This takes me back to that time HG did a little dance because we got 100 likes that time.
Wow.
Did a little twirl. You did a little pirouette, didn't you?
That's it.
HG's got some moves. He's a big man, but he's got some moves. That's all I know.
Yeah,
Vienna's
onto
a
the
lucky
floor
place.
and not getting up for half an hour is usually what happens when I go to a dance floor. But yeah,
You see, most of that's just because we're drunk, but you don't drink. So,
no, it's true.
Gibbo?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What?
Gibbo, do you think there could be any change in the formation with the players that
Nah.
he did pick, or did you think it was definitely going to be?
You can't play. We can't play full. We've got no fullbacks, so we can't play fullbacks. So it had to be 3 at the back. And I think, like Jack said, you've got to try and get a few extra goals on the pitch, haven't you? Rather than maybe stiffen it up in the middle of midfield. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised. I was surprised that Richarlison started. I thought it was more likely to be Danjuma. I think he's had a couple of decent outings when he's come on. But, Richarlison worked hard, didn't he? He puts it about a bit. His decision making's not great, but he did work hard, and he gave us a bit of energy, which was what we needed when we were really struggling. But yeah, so I thought Danjuma would start, and yeah, no big surprises really.
I thought that we looked most dangerous through Richarlison on the left, certainly, and they kept trying to play the ball over to him, didn't they? He just seemed to lack that bit of confidence. I mean, he had one shot which was straight at the hair, but there was a moment, probably about 20 minutes in, where
the shot.
Gone.
Yeah, the shot he had when he should have took a shot and he tried to cross it shows where his confidence is. Yeah. That shows where he's at, because a good foot like Rashford, what plays that round the keeper, doesn't he? Curl wraps his foot round it, puts it in the other side. He's bang on form. Richarlison, 0 Premier League goals. Tried to lay it off to someone. And you can tell that's where he's at.
Even second half, when Son was playing on that side, he missed an absolute sitter in that position, didn't he? When the ball was placed and he just squirmed it right. And the goal that Son scored, he mishit it almost. It sort of bobbled in, didn't it? But I thought we started okay, HG.
Well, as in we didn't concede within 70 seconds this time.
That's what our WhatsApp group said.
Yep. We're all waiting. We've got past the first minute, boys. Fantastic. I saw a lot of comments at halftime to say that Spurs were awful in the first half, and I didn't think we were, to be honest. I'm not saying that Man United didn't deserve a 2-0 lead, because they had lots of chances, but I didn't think Spurs were terrible. We also had our own half moments of the balls going across the 6-yard box and no one there to tap it at the far. That happened a number of times. But the thing with Richarlison that seems to annoy me is that he waits for contact before doing anything. So if he's got a fast start on someone, it's almost like he waits for the defender to get close before he then thinks, now I know what to do. And the chance I think you're talking about where he was, I mean, not clean through, but, he had the one defender in front of him, thought, either corner. Like, if you can get it in the near post, it's going in, you're not far out. If you can pass it into the far post, kind of like Sancho's goal would have been a perfect example of him being able to do that. And he just put his foot through it and hoped for the best. And yeah, so as good as the rest of it is, if you're in there to score goals and you can't pass it into the corner from 10, 12 yards, I'm a bit sceptical of you. So we weren't bad in the first half at all, and Richarlison was a massive part of everything good that we did, but it just wasn't there. It was like, we had 8/10 of the goal, but the last little bit it didn't look like we were ever going to get it.
John's gone on mute.
Yeah,
You're on mute, John. You're on mute, mate. What, Jack? What did you think of the?
No,
Jack?
I'll say with Richarlison that I'm going to echo you, HG, because my issue is I don't understand how he can't hold his line or even be somewhat aware of where the back line is. The number of times he's not just a step off, he's 3 yards off. It's just not. I don't understand that at this point. And then he also, your point about going down for contact. I mean, he as soon as he feels contact, he seems to be thrown off the ball. He's throwing himself around. He's not strong enough. I mean, he's a big lad, so I don't understand why he isn't winning that. And I think many times where he might be fouled, but he goes down so easily, his reputation doesn't allow for him to get the calls. It's just, he frustrates me. I said many times, it's not his lack of effort. It's just, I just don't think he gives you what you need in those situations. He's just losing possession. He's not winning the balls. He's running off sides. And I don't think it was great energy, but it wasn't a great outing for me. And he lacks confidence. So maybe if he can get past the season and come back next year with a preseason and stay healthy, maybe we can see something better from him. But he's been very disappointing.
I think it's all about playing
can you hear me?
people's strengths.
Yes,
I can
John.
hear you now, John. Sorry, yeah. I think it's about playing to his strengths. Like, to me, Richarlison is a number 9. So playing him down the left, like, again, he's not a bad player. We all know that I wasn't in love when we signed Richarlison, but I was like, okay, look, I kind of, bought into the idea of being someone who's different, so he could offer us, just like that presence that maybe Kane physically can't do, doesn't want to do anymore. But to play him down the left and then give him the ball and say, well, now you can run at the fullback instead of using your pace down the channels, just doesn't really work for me. So it's awkward. Like, he's clearly trying. He wants to succeed. He wants to score goals. He wants to play football more than, really he does. But I don't know. I don't know what we can do to really help him out apart from say, you're down the middle, and maybe we're going to play someone off you when you're on the pitch. Because I think we all thought that he was, as far as the season was going to go, he was going to be the rotational option if Kane needed a break. I don't think none of us saw this season being without the front three being Son, Kane, and Kulusevski because they ended last season so well.
Yeah. So let's talk about Sancho's goal. We were I can't even remember. Were we attacking now and they broke?
Yeah,
Probably.
seems to be it's definitely what happened for Rashford's goal, but there was a lot of criticism I saw of Porro and then Romero. Is it down to them, or do we have to give credit to Sancho for moving the ball quickly and getting the shot away? Jack, I'll come to you.
Yeah, I said this, I think, in our chat. I don't see Kane has done that. I don't know how many times, right? A quick touch to the side, quick foot, wrap around a keeper who's not even seeing it till the ball's around the defenders. And all we're doing is what brilliance do we have on the pitch? We're not saying what crappy defense, because you've got 2 defenders there. They're giving enough space so that he can't get around them. If you jump in there, you risk a foul. Sometimes a player just is quick and he hits a perfect shot. And he hasn't done it for United since he left Germany, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know how you blame our defense. They were there. They weren't out of position. Sometimes you just got to tip your hat, great play, move on. That's the way I feel about it. Nope.
Oh, she disagrees. Go on then, big man.
Okay, look, I am a big Sancho fan. I think he's a really good player, but I don't think he really suits how United play, and he suited how Dortmund played. But I do think he's a really good player. But he has no left foot. Show him down the left-hand side. You talk about Kane being able to do it. Kane can go both ways, but Sancho can't. It was pretty obvious that when he got the ball, he was going to try and shift it onto his right foot and find the far corner. That's what frustrated me. And both the challenges were half-hearted. Porro's kind of in front of him, but not really. Romero comes across, but not really. Neither one of them go to attack the ball. If one of you is backing off, then the other one can go towards the ball, as far as I'm concerned. So I get it was a great finish, and maybe Sancho only does that 2 times out of every 15, but he's a Premier League player, and you can't allow him to go onto his stronger foot when he's in the box. To me, that's pretty basic.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think really good finish, got out of his feet, knew what he wanted to do and did it. But I think you've got to be a little bit like HG said. I'd probably say both, but you've got to be a little bit more aggressive in that area, or show the guy onto his wrong foot, because we'll obviously come on to the Dier goal in a minute, where we spoke about this, a couple of us, before we come on. But you've either got to show him down his wrong side, or you've got to get in front of him and try and make that block quicker. But there seems to be a lot of this putting your hands behind your back, or like trying to, and good players can use a player to bend the ball round, can't they? That's what good players do. They use players to sort of do that, and that's what he did. So I think it's a little bit of both. It's just not lazy, but I just find us We were much better in the second half, but lately, like against Newcastle, it's just a little bit lazy in the challenge, just a little bit slow to react to stuff. But it was a great finish. He knew what he wanted to do, and he did it. So 1-0, 7 minutes.
And then we just our best chances, HG, I seem to think we're just knocking it over the top for a Richarlison to run onto, really, wasn't it? And then him and Perisic seemed to be getting some nice little movement down the side. And I don't know, I lost count of how many times the ball just went across their goal line, and none of our players seemed to be getting anywhere near it.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel the difference is that Richarlison doesn't really want to be there. He wants to be down the middle, and so that allows Perisic to attack the space. We've heard lots of people talk about how Perisic and Son want to be in the same areas, and it hinders them both. Well, Richarlison doesn't want to be out there. He wants to be down the middle. He wants to be involved, even if it's just to elbow some defender on the sly. He wants to be around players, and so yeah, we had good moments in that first half. We really did. And it was nice to see, because I feel like forever, I can't remember the last time we actually attacked with any kind of intelligence. But yeah, I always felt that United were just better in that first half. And if they got half chances, they were going to somehow take advantage of them. I mean, I think we all remember probably the one pass that Eriksen did maybe with 10 minutes to go in the first half, where he hit it first time over the top. And you just thought, that's the kind of player that we missed. But you knew that they had the football intelligence to do that. And outside of Kane, I don't look at Spurs players and think they're on that level, that they understand where everyone is at every point, and they can play the pass before the ball's got to them. And I felt like that was the difference in the first half. It wasn't that we didn't try. It wasn't that Man United were much better than us physically or as a team. But when it came to thinking, when it came to actually executing what they wanted to do, they were one step ahead.
HG, I feel like that first half, we just lack belief as well. When we're in, when we can be in an area where you think you can be brave and try. We don't. Like I think Hoddle said it, like the ball comes to Hojbjerg and somebody's running, but they choose the simple, safe option, and they don't do it quick enough. Either we can't knock that pass quick enough, or we don't see that run. I think we've got players who sort of willing to try, but they just lack the quality and the belief to do it, especially at the minute.
And they probably know that if they get it wrong, that the crowd's going to be on their back.
Yeah, and that's.
That has to be part of it. Like, if you think, hey, if I give a solid 7 out of 10 for the next 3-4 games, maybe people will get off my back. And the best way to do a solid 7 out of 10 is just to keep it simple. Do your job, right? Don't try and do anything fancy. Don't do all the flicks and tricks, because we know that when they don't come off, the crowd are on your back. And weirdly enough, obviously more so at home because there's more of us. So, like, I understand that we've talked about formation issues all season, about how, if Skipp and Hojbjerg get the ball, they're usually surrounded very quickly, so they don't have the time to look up and pick a pass, and maybe they don't have the ability to see that pass to play it first time, which is really what they need to be doing if they want to have any success. But it's, yeah, like where is that extra midfielder going to come from? I felt like in the second half, and I know we'll get onto it, but the second half, the defenders would move up into the midfield line a lot easier, and they were willing to move forward with the ball, and that again just it meant that you had an extra person to win the second balls. It meant that just as a team we functioned better.
Because come on to Jack. So when you were talking about those balls that go across the box, Jack, can you remember seeing? I can't remember who put it across the box, but there was one. It went across the box, and there were 4 Tottenham players on the edge of the area, and I think even Porro on the other side was even further back. So to me, that's like your lack of belief, or not desire, maybe, but that's when you're thinking, "Do I go? I don't know whether I should go," because
that's a lack of confidence and probably a little bit of shell shock from the previous week, because that one that Kane puts across from the byline back through the 6. Yeah. I don't know if we're all looking at the same camera feed or whatever, but if you actually look at it on the replay, you don't see Richarlison in the picture. You don't see Porro in the picture. You see Skipp coming in, but in other words, the attacking players are not in the frame. They're jogging up. Porro's hanging back a little bit. Whether I go, should I go? Because again, if you go and it doesn't happen, now it's in behind you, and I understand that. But there was a number of times where balls are getting to the far post. Even the shot in the second half that Decky has, where he actually took it on his right foot. It's not a strong shot. It's going towards the far post, but there's no one anticipating that he's going to the far coast and taking a chance at maybe sliding in and poking that in. And you see that against us a lot. You see that in other games, but today that was probably the one thing that, from an attacking sense, is players not taking chances to be there on that back post. And that's the whole point of a 3-4-3, I thought, was that you've got people wrapping around for that play, because I've seen it a few times, so I know it'll work. But yeah, they weren't gambling. And when you're down, you're already down. I don't know why, and you're not playing for anything. I don't know why you wouldn't, except to your point of maybe just not wanting the crowd on your back out, or just lack of belief or confidence. I'm not really sure. But I will say that my comment at halftime was they didn't play that badly. They weren't clinical. I mean, United got their chances. They finished them. We even cleared one off the line. So you got to give us credit for that, right? That was a nice defensive play from our left wing back. But we did not, we missed chances, and we've just been missing a lot of chances for most of the season, I guess, at least the second half.
So we seemed to be getting a bit on top. I thought we were creating chances, and Perisic got in on the left-hand side. The shot was saved, and then for some reason, rather than going for corner, he decided to sprint out, slide, try and cross it. It got blocked. Fell to Hojbjerg, who cocked about, and then we had the Ferrari against
of Eric Dier.
Ford Fiesta of Eric Dier, or as Keith says, I laughed when it was 1v1. Rashford v Dier.
Don't be generous by calling him a Ford Fiesta, mate. Ford Fiestas are half
Robin
decent
Reliant.
cars.
I'm talking about a 1982 Ford Fiesta here, just to clarify.
Let's get into
okay. Well,
this,
that is a difference. Yeah.
This.
So
is
my initial view was Rashford's just going to beat Dier, and you guys have taken me down, which is fair enough, and said Dier's got to deal with him better. My first issue is Perisic and Hojbjerg have got to do better in that bottom corner.
Mm-hmm.
And why we ended up with Rashford against Dier 1-on-1, that's stupid. That is just plain poor game management. Either one of our centre midfielders or one of the other centre backs has got to be there. And I think at that point we had committed bodies forward, Jack. It's just unfortunate we didn't get the ball in.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll take your boys' point. You give us your review of how Dier should have dealt with it.
He should have. You've got to try and, for me, you've got to try and attempt to push him away from the goal. I don't know if he's going to be quick enough to get there and make a challenge, but try and push him, try and do something, because he basically never did anything. He just sort of let him run. It really poor, really, really poor, embarrassing. Kid is defending, that is. He sort of retreated. He knows he's quick, but you've at least got to attempt to narrow the angle to give maybe even Forster a chance. But he's let him go straight in on goal. So Forster's come out then, and obviously Rashford's put it away. But if he can at least try and force him or take him wider or something, it narrows the angle down. But he retreats all the time. He is so slow. He is unbelievably slow. You cannot be beat at this level that easily. There's not many championship defenders that would get beat that easily. It's just really, really poor. And it's just not good enough. And like I said, even when he has good moments and stuff, we cannot rely on this guy in the middle of a back three, because moments like that, I mean, it was embarrassing. It was literally a free-running goal.
Wind that back. We can't rely on him in the back four either. So what you mean is we can't rely on him at back.
We can't, mate. There's talks of him having a new 3-year contract, but this is a big chat for another day. But he's had his chance. He's had good games and he's had good periods, and he might be a presence in the changing room. But the time has come we do not need to be giving players like that a new 3-year contract. It was awful defending. I can't see anybody who can defend that, who can defend what he's done. I don't know if Jack or HG. I don't think HG will be defending him.
No, I wouldn't, because to me, like we talked about this before the show started, but the idea is, as a defender there, even if you know you're going to get done for pace, and I'm sure Dier is well aware that Rashford will do him for pace, you put body between the ball and the goal. That is defending, like, it's not even defending 101, it's like, you just know instinctively. No one needs to tell you that if you want to stop the ball going in the goal, put your body in the way is a good way to start. And he never did. When you look at the replay, it's like he's trying to defend the D from the ball going into the D. At no point does he ever shift across to make it difficult for Rashford. He basically just says, "All right, well, you know, I'm gonna mark this area, and if Rashford goes down the outside, he doesn't have to go wide. He just runs straight towards the byline and gets his shot away." It is the positioning is what is so terrible. Like, we all know that Dier is not the best. I'm sure Dier knows that he's not the best. Like, I really believe that. He's not an idiot. But at some point, it's like, this is basic stuff. Where are you looking? Are you looking at the goal? Like, even goalkeepers will have a quick check to see where the post is, to see where they are, right? Even I don't. That it was so bad. It looks like Rashford's not going to miss. All he does is put his foot through the ball. But when you're 10 yards, 15 yards out inside the box, and you can hit it as hard as he can with either foot, he's going to score. I mean, United had a couple of chances before that maybe they should have scored. But that was just, it was so basic. It was like, we're going to hoof it forward, and our guy is faster than your guy, and your guy is not going to try and stop it, so we'll score. But awful.
He's forever retreating. He's always going backwards, mate. Like Leicester, when Iheanacho, he's forever just retreating, like just trying to get as close to the goal as he can. And I'd say hoping he can get his body in the way of it, but he didn't even attempt to today.
I think probably what he needs to look at is someone like Thiago Silva at Chelsea, mate, who again is not, the guy is, he's a class player. He's not the quickest. And the other player I was thinking of was Noureddin Naibet, who played for us for a season.
Yeah.
He's not in their league, mate.
He was slower than a tank, but he was so good, wasn't he?
He's just not up to it. He's just not good enough.
So, we got to half-time. 2-0 down. Some boos came out. They played the music nice and loud to try and drown the boos out. I'm with you, Jack. I didn't think we played that badly, but unfortunately, some poor defending and a bit of lack of clinical finishing at the other end.
Donna Cullen thought we did.
Did you see that video of Donna Cullen? I might retweet it. I think Dave sent it to us, didn't she? Yeah, I won't say the words, but she mouths some words saying it's not very good, shall we say, if you can lip read. But I'll Dave sent it to us on our chat. Actually, I'll try and retweet it later. Okay. I just want to talk about this comment here by Next Level English. Fixing Tottenham is easy. Just sell Dier, Cess, Sanchez, Perisic, Lloris as soon as possible. Yeah, I'm going to remove the word sell because we ain't selling them because nobody's going to buy half of them. No. I don't think Lloris. I have a feeling Lloris may not ever play for Spurs again. I think this muscle injury might drag out. Let's
hope.
Might drag out.
I mean, I shouldn't say that.
No. But I mean,
I was going to say. Well, I started to say I hope so that he never plays again. But then I checked myself a little bit. It would be sad for the club captain and all that he's done. I mean, because the body of work, let's be fair, is excellent. I mean, he's been a fantastic servant of the club. He's had some huge moments. He's also had some huge cock-ups, I know. But it would be sad for it just kind of dwindle away into this. But to Next Level English, he shouldn't play again if we want to move forward. It's called terminate the contract.
Well, I mean, I think 4 of those 5 are out of contract next summer. Right? They'd only have Cess is the only one I'm not sure about, and Cess has been here at least 4 seasons now. So maybe he's got 2 years left.
No, yeah, he's got. Hold on, yeah, he's 4 years into a 6-year contract.
Yeah, okay, so it was 6. So I mean, I think we'd probably get a little bit of money for a couple of them. I don't think we'd have to give them away. I'm sure that someone in Europe would pay €5 million for Sanchez. I do think that. Maybe 10 if they're feeling rather generous and a bit drunk. But it's all the players. I don't see any of them really having a future at Spurs. I don't want any of them having a future at Spurs. The only one of those I could have maybe considered is Dier, but only as like your backup to the backup at centre back, and maybe if you're desperate for a defensive midfielder, like the utility player that only plays when things are very, very bad. Otherwise, we have to get younger, we have to get better. Perisic is on a lot of money, okay? Like that's the cost of giving in to managers who aren't committed to the club, right? I mean, that's
If we can't
the
get
only reason
rid of
Perisic is
Perisic,
there. Huh?
would you be happier with him playing further up the pitch? Because I thought second
in
half
the squad. Yeah,
he was causing Wan-Bissaka, who everyone tells us is the best defending fullback. James Maddison said it this week. He's the one player that if wingers can't get past. I thought Perisic caused him a lot of problems in that second half until he was taken off.
Like if I don't think like the chance that Perisic missed before their second goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
A half decent winger, a left-footed who's half decent, will find the ball corner every single time, right? Like as much as Perisic has had a really good career, if what he's good at is crossing, it's not enough to me. Like I looked at that and thought, Filip Kostic would have buried that. A decent left winger would have buried that. He just puts his foot through it. And again, I don't think that's a sign of quality. I think the best players can pass it into the goal from 10 to 15 yards, even at full, even under pressure. They can do that. They are the ones you want to have. If Perisic can't do it, if he's just a crossing merchant, well, I'd rather see Bryan Hill get the minutes. If I'm honest, he's at Spurs too. So again, it's not a bad player, and I don't mind him, but I'm looking for the next 2-3 seasons, and Perisic clearly isn't that. So I would be happy to allow him to spend a couple more seasons in Spain, maybe on our dime. But still, we need to focus on Spurs, not on Perisic.
Perisic has had a fantastic career, and assist-wise, and that he's had a decent season for Spurs. But he does look like a 34, 35-year-old guy now, doesn't he? We're not getting the Perisic that we need ultimately.
I agree with that.
When he was at Bayern and they won the Champions League, right, and he was there because Conte didn't rate him. Right, you remember that? He didn't think he could play wing back, so he sent him on loan to Bayern, and Perisic won the Champions League playing left wing with Alphonso Davies behind him. Right, that's a pretty good deal for anyone. Right, if you've got Alphonso Davies behind you, right, and then he goes to Inter, and Conte's like, oh, maybe you could play a wing back in a midfield 5, which he's never done at Spurs. So I don't blame Perisic per se. We were asking him to do something that he's never done successfully in his entire career. And we've got the fag end of it. So it's just, no, look, like if you said to me, do I want to see Perisic play left wing back? Do I want to see Sessegnon play left wing back? Or do I want to see Bryan Hill play left wing back? I'm picking Bryan every single time. Even though I don't think he can defend either, he's still more likely to do something and at least have the pace and energy to get back and make the effort. I don't blame Perisic for not being able to. That's just who he is. But out of those three, I'm investing time and minutes in Bryan every single time.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, next level is, he's convinced the players are far too comfortable. We've heard this a lot. Arsenal had the same problem during later Ozil years. The same with Aubameyang. They did end up getting rid of these players. They either paid them off, like we've only done it with Aurier so far, or they, with Aubameyang, they said, you can go for free, we ain't paying you a dime, or you can sit in the reserves.
Lloris is
returned. We're going to have to do. Levy's going to have to bite the bullet on this.
Lloris is Jack. I don't know if Jack agrees, but Lloris's inclusion as soon as he was fit is proof of that. I said that before. There's too many players at Spurs who are too comfortable. Kane is an anomaly. The guy's an absolute world beater. There are too many players who are too comfortable, who are guaranteed their place no matter what. Like absolutely shocking against Newcastle. A lot of them played again. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if you agree with that, Jack, that there is too many players who are too comfortable.
I think it's obviously clear. I mean, if you go back and read, just take the passion and the emotion out of it and go back and read the transcript of Conte sacking himself, right? And just read it. A lot of the things that he said there are undeniably true from the public evidence that we have. We're not on the training ground. We're not in the dressing room, but there are too many players who don't want to play with pressure. or feel entitled for their starting position, or just just don't have that fire. Take Kane out of the mix. And I agree. I mean, the form dropped when Lloris came back in, and is that coincidence? You cannot prove it, but you can say he comes back in, and all of a sudden, form tails off.
We were better from playing out from the back.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
yeah.
No, there's no question. I mean, again,
yeah,
and I don't have any animosity towards Lloris. I just know that it's obviously time for him to go. Right? And it's just a matter of how you make that happen.
Yeah.
That's my feeling.
So 2-0 down at half time. The boos came in. Second half, we came out a bit brightly, Jack.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no question that we've seen it before, right? How many times have we said, wow, what a game of two halves, right? They did come out, and one of the differences, like in the first half, there's so many times, our buildup is very predictable. Comes out to center back, goes out to the wing back, either comes back to the center back or comes into the midfielder, who then sends back to a center back. And it's real easy to just kind of, everyone's kind of marking their space to, defending this thing. It's not going out anywhere. Even if we do get it up to someone checking in from a wing position, it's to a player who's not good checking in, like Son or Richarlison, with playing with their back to goal, right? And they're just going to knock it back. So it's very easy and predictable to defend. You said earlier, HG, one of the things that makes a difference is everyone steps up, everyone gets closer to them, everyone puts a foot in, and all of a sudden you win some balls, you win some second balls, and now you're off. And the effort level certainly came up. They came out of the second half, obviously wanting to not get blown out, hopefully, and they did change things. And the number of times you actually saw the up, the back, the over, those combinations to the midfield that we saw Manchester United go through so many times, you actually saw some combinations between the lines and got out. There was a step in the play that was so much better. And the stats, I'm got them up on my screen, bear it out. When you look at the second half and first half stats, it's definitely going to show up in the data very clearly. There was an absolute difference. So it's good for them. I mean, I don't understand why that has to be talked about at halftime and change, how you play. That, other than you're just scared to make a mistake and you hope to not concede, and now you're down 2-0, so we might as well play like we did earlier in the season, and we got down 2-0 Bournemouth or whatever, and all that sort of stuff. I just don't get that. I don't understand what the mentality issue, but it's been plaguing this team for a while.
Well, I mean, it goes back to Conte, doesn't it? In the way that he had them playing in the first half, and then suddenly they kick up the backside, and the shackles come off second half. I just want to pick up Greg on this. Greg, I don't know if you mean to say right back, right back. Obviously, Reguilon is a left back, but he can't get in the Atletico Madrid team, nor can Doherty. They might play a couple of minutes each game. Bit of a strange one, but I would take Reguilon back, I think. But we've no idea what system we'll be playing next season, who the coach will be. So it's going to be quite a hard one. And obviously we do have Udogie, who has played left centre-back at times this season, so I'm a bit more confident he can play left back.
I would love it if Spurs did like an NFL-style hard knocks about our pre-season next year, right? Where you've got, 40 players going for 25 squad spots, and you get to learn about their family backstories and which one comes from some country bunk town who drinks beer for breakfast. Like that's the type of thing I would like to see. Maybe Levy, if you're listening, have a deal with Amazon. Whoever the manager comes in, you've got 4 weeks to throw the crap out, keep the ones you want, and we'll see what we'll do. Because, to me, you could almost keep 6 fullbacks next year, even if even if I didn't know if I was going to play with fullbacks or with wingbacks or whatever. We've spent so much money in that area now that you could be thinking, right, well, Royal has looked pretty good as a defensive fullback, and Davies, we know, has looked decent as a defensive fullback. So you'd keep those two, and then from an attacking sense, well, maybe Spence on one side, Porro. That's a lot of money that Spurs have committed to these players. That you could I don't want fullback to be the most important part of our squad, but which of those do you decide to throw? If Reguilon comes back, he's, to me, again, more defensive initially, but then likes to attack from deep. He doesn't want to be a wing-back. So, what do you do? If you're going to play with a back four, maybe you only need one of Porro or Spence. And, you're probably going to get your money back on Spence. You won't get it for Porro. So, what choices do you need? We need homegrown players. It's an almighty mess. But Yeah, welcome to Spurs. I mean, again, it's one of those weird things that we wanted the manager to commit. Conte never did, and we spent money for a system that he likes. But first you buy a player that he doesn't want, and then you pick a player that he does want, and within 6 weeks he's buggered off because you can't hack it anymore. It's mental.
I just googled, so I know Porro's on loan, but yes, it is an obligation to buy in the summer, so we are stuck with him.
Yeah.
So
he's not.
Yeah,
people
he
will
has
knock him. People will knock him, and he has had defensively. He's really struggled, but he's not. He's a player who's come from playing that position in a team that dominates possession.
Yeah,
and he attacks. That's what he does. We signed a player who plays in a team in that position who dominates possession and gets forward. Yet we play defensive, counter-attacking football. We play the complete opposite of how he plays wing back.
And I think Sporting, not only do they have a back three, but they have a midfield three and a number 10.
Yeah, and
they only
dominate.
really play with their central striker. So Porro, in many cases, can be a winger, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be much else. But again, it's great because we have people that can play different systems. So if I want to play a back four, but I want to attack, I'm going to play Spence because he's got the pace to do it. I'm not going to play Royal because he can't attack, and I'm not going to play Porro because he can't get there quick enough to really help. If I want to do what Man City have suddenly started doing with the whole idea of a fullback that moves into midfield, well, Emerson was doing that pretty successfully in January and February, and was quite often as soon as he stopped trying to be the winger, his performances improved. So in some ways you can look at it and think, great, we have options. But in other ways you look at it and think, this is if we don't know what we're going to do, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I want to.
Good evening, Sam.
Hello. I thought I'd gate crash the party to give my 2 cents, but Jack, continue.
Go on, Jack. You go on.
I agree. I'm looking forward to next year. I actually like that idea tremendously well because I think that both Bentancur and Bissouma, if he comes back, are able to play that single pivot where you have a dynamic, thick pivot come in from the fullback position to provide that option. But so they go to the left or they go to the right, and the fullback comes in to fill that space. So I think that would work really, really well. I really like that way City is doing that this year, and I think you actually could pull that off because we actually have a defensive midfielder or two that can play that role. I'm not saying they're Rodri, but they had that skill set who are comfortable on the ball in traffic. I think you could actually pull that system off. I think that would work well. James, good evening. Good evening.
Thank you. I just came back from the pub, actually, while I was watching the game. And also...
that is a surprise.
Well, actually, I played a few games of pool. I won the frame against my friend, 3-2. And then we played doubles against a couple of old geezers, which we unfortunately lost. So, fair enough. Anywho, I will say, from what I remember from that game, I was in the pub, remember? In the second half, we showed something we haven't shown in a long time. We showed that we wanted to go out and get something from a game of football. And I know that's, very old English manager talk, Neil Warnock, Harry Redknapp talk. But that second half showed that we are a team... We have a team of players that can go out and get results against big teams. That's something I haven't seen from Spurs for a while, honestly, at all in 2023, I don't think, really. And that gives me some optimism for the future. But I apologise for gate crashing. I just came to say that.
No, James, I think you're right in a way. I think we've talked about this before. We have got some poor players, but we've got some decent players. And I think those players are better than they've showed. I just think they've been coached in such a way for too long, and we can only play one way now. We're not used to having the ball. We don't have we're sort of, and when we do try and play open, we're left too open. We don't know how to do it. So I do agree with you, mate. I think there's something there. We need 1 or 2 good additions, and if this team has new people come in with the right attitude and the right mentality, then we can get better. We will improve. But yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Well done.
And I'm glad you said that too, James, because that was something I said to my son. I said I fully expect us to lose that game. I thought that we would push on and then get caught out or concede some ridiculous goal at the end, which we almost did, of course. But I said this to my son. I said, this is what we have been screaming for months, right? We want to be entertained. We want to see a team that clearly is trying with everything they have to make something happen, to apply themselves and to be entertaining, to create chances to go forward. I'm not saying it was beautiful. I'm not saying it was technically, wonderful football. It was not Man City-esque, but it was at least an effort and an entertainment value that I said, hey, that's what all that a lot of people have been asking for. Just don't bore me to tears and then lose and look like crap. Entertaining. And I thought the second half was a real effort and showed some real bright spots. I don't know if it really will carry on to the next game.
Pressure's off at 2-0 up. 2-0 down,
yeah,
sorry.
Well, no doubt about it. And I'd like to see that effort in the first half against Liverpool. On the road, you don't have to worry about the fans coming down on you too badly because they're, you're not at home. So I'd love to see that effort in the first half. And we're not going to win. We're not going to win our fifth in 117 years or whatever it is, this weekend. But I'd like to see that effort. And if you can just be entertaining and apply yourself and give the effort and you still lose, I think most Spurs fans would, at this point, would take that.
And that's the thing that's frustrated me all season. We've not looked like a team that's going out to win a game of football. We've looked like a team that's going out to not lose the game of football. And in the second half, we looked like a team that went out to go and at least try and win a game of football. And that is a lot of just what I want from the team. It's the mentality, it's the intent of we are going to go and beat the other team, and as opposed to going out and trying not to lose to the other team. And I don't know what Ryan Mason said at half time, and I agree with you, Gibbo. Like, a big part of it is the pressure's off, and our team maybe struggles under the pressure. But whatever Ryan Mason said, or Harry Kane, I don't think anyone else would have said anything relevant at halftime said, it was obviously enough to make us go out and try and win the game of football. Even at 2-2, we looked like a team that believed we could go and win. And that's the mentality that's been lacking all season. Yes, we've had comeback results, but even in those comeback results, we've gone for it. But I don't think we've seen the same level of initiative in believing we can win a game of football. And that just says it all, because I'm not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, mate, Ryan Mason, he's the next Johan Cruyff manager, because he obviously isn't, is he? But it just shows that we have the players, we have some very good players, and we have a good set of players who can go and win games. It's just about that innate confidence and belief. And that comes from the manager and the coaches. And if the manager's just turning around and saying, lads, we're good, we can win this game, I believe in you, and just instills a bit of, fire up their backside, that shows how far we can go just with these players. A couple more additions, we can genuinely be up there. I genuinely think. That's what the 45 minutes showed me.
And what's interesting about this game... Sorry, go ahead, H. I was going to say, what I wanted to point out, one of the things that I've noticed, my son started doing the stats, send them to Franco for the podcast. And one of the things he's picked up on is, as he's been doing this, is how many times we actually win the duels. I mean, if you look at it player by player and as a team, we don't win the duels. And today was the first time in weeks that they actually won the duels. I mean, they won a preponderance of the ground duels. It was 50-50 in the aero duels, and they actually had more successful dribbles. And that has not happened for a long time. So they clearly are capable, but for whatever reason, coaching, mentality, whatever, haven't been doing that for months. Sorry, go ahead, Ichi.
It's like the cliche of 2-0 being a dangerous scoreline, I think was probably quite evident today. This idea that at 2-0, Spurs have nothing to lose, so they show a bit more energy. And if you win a few of those balls, then Man United, but what are they going to do? Well, we're going to retreat because we're 2-0 up. And so you create your own momentum, right? Because United have no desire to really fight that much. They don't think they need to, so they'll let you have it. And then we had more of the ball in dangerous areas, and we got the goal. Again, the first goal came from very little, but it came from the fact that we were playing in their half, and we'd earned the right to make United concerned about us enough to retreat, which is what they did. Because again, like Emerson goes off after I think an hour. It's 2-1 at that point, and Fred is not as attacking minded as Eriksen. He certainly is not as good as on the ball. And so you have this idea of like, okay, like we've changed something here. United are being a bit more defensive, and for that helped us. Clearly, it helped us. We should have won the game. I mean, again, United had their own chances, but when you look at it, so did we. We had some really good chances. I don't know. Like tonight told me that neither Man United or Spurs are ready for whatever it is they want to do. And if United get the Champions League, then they're not ready for it. And if Spurs got it, they wouldn't be ready for it. But there's still massive weaknesses in both those teams.
I just want to point out, Keith saying United played for 2 hours and had penalties on Sunday, whereas obviously Spurs played for 2 seconds on Sunday as a comparison. So. And that's probably being generous. So Porro's goal. What a lovely finish, I thought. Gibbo?
Yeah, good finish, mate. I mean, they looked at it for VAR, didn't they? Like Richarlison. I'm surprised they never...
Richarlison got pushed by Casemiro. So they were looking to see if he... Because he was on the goal line, wasn't he? So he was technically offside. I think they were looking to see if he interfered. But he didn't interfere. And if it was given offside, it should have been given as a penalty.
Yeah, but it was a great finish. And like we said, that's what I think when we were looking at him at Lisbon, that's what he did for them. He scored goals, he scored good goals, and he contributed in the attacking third, and that's what he did there. It was a lovely finish, really good. A little bit of sort of like imagination with the finish, really, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like Hojbjerg had a couple of attempts like that, and they were just awful. But like Porro, he knew what he was doing. Really good finish, and we're back in the game. But we put some pressure on him, and we were having a go at him. And you sort of felt like a goal could come if we kept going. And really good goal.
HG, I said to you earlier, the game reminded me a lot of the Liverpool game at home back in December, where we hit the bar twice, or hit the woodwork twice. Perisic did in that game, and they got the 2 goals. And then second half, we got a goal back and we pushed really hard. Both these games and a couple of other games, a certain gentleman who plays central of our central defence has missed absolute sitters. How the bloody hell did Dier miss that?
Because he's a Man United fan and didn't want to score. I don't know. I mean, I'm not that much of a cynic. I think he really meant to do it, but it wasn't even close. Darren Bent is thinking, why on earth isn't he being compared to Sandra Redknapp after that miss? But that shows the adventure that we had in that second half. What was Dier doing there in the first place? This wasn't from a set piece. Like, he'd wandered forward and found himself unmarked inside the 8 on the penalty spot, maybe even closer. Should have scored, didn't score, but welcome to Spurs. I mean, I think like bad decision making at various levels has haunted us for a while. Is it because they're not good enough? Is it because they're not strong enough mentally? Both, maybe. But if Dier is going to go after 9 seasons at Spurs, it would be, I think, this summer. Yeah. I'm never going to slag him off. I don't think he's good enough as a defender. But after being there as long as he has, when he wanted to leave a number of years ago and was told he couldn't, I don't really feel as if he's ever thrown the club under the bus. He's got on with it. I do have a lot of time for Dier, but you've got to score that. I mean, anyone who's playing professional football should have scored that. I think Fraser Forster would have scored that. So it was
harder to miss. It was harder to miss.
Yeah. To just get good contact on it.
Yeah.
Jack, what was that? Which was the worst miss? That or Bruno Fernandes hitting the bar from about 5 yards?
Oh no, it's Dier. That's not even close. Because I'm glad you brought that up. I don't like Bruno Fernandes. He winds me up. I just hate watching him play. But that is a wonderful move at the top of the box. I mean, I'm sorry, I am not Clement's got no choice but to get up there quickly and try to make the block because it looks like he's shooting. He just drags it right through his legs. And I'll be honest with you, he's in on goal and it happens. I mean, he should finish. But Dier unmarked 5 yards out who tries to glance it in as opposed to put your freaking head through it, right? I mean, oh my God. I mean, Harry, let me put this. Maguire would have buried that. That's how bad a miss it was. I mean,
Maguire's better than him.
Who didn't even make the squad. And he's not listed as hurt, but that doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, so no, that's a terrible miss. And I want to say, as far as wandering center backs are concerned, you know, I'd love to see not only a heat map of Romero's game tonight. I want to see the heat map of him all season, because there was at one point where I didn't realize it, but all of a sudden he comes trampling. I didn't realize that Skipp was right center back, and he just comes trampling back into the screen like, what the fuck? Oh, that's right. He was all the way up. He was chasing, pressuring De Gea.
Yeah, he went down in the box and just sat there and almost like sat there and just stood there. And I was looking, and Skipp spent a lot of time in the back line in that second half, particularly. There was a definite, you know, it's been mentioned that the centre backs were moving forward, and Skipp, Hojbjerg a little bit, but Skipp was definitely having to fill in a point, which is part of his role. But it does mean those centre backs moving, it does move the opposition around a bit and gives us a little bit more flexibility.
Yes, I mean that has to happen. Your centre backs in that system have to be coming forward and making themselves available. They have to be coming and picking a pass. They have to be an option, because again, I mean, I don't know, like when we had Aurier, how many times was Sissoko right back, right? You've got to have players in movement in the formation, right? So it doesn't work otherwise. It's too static and easy to defend if you don't have players who are coming from places the defense is not expecting. But anyway, I just love to see the heat map on Romero.
So Sonny missed a sitter as well at the far post.
He had so much time. He had so much time.
He could have controlled it, couldn't he? Yeah,
he could have done that with Richarlison. He could have done the keepy uppies, right, for a little bit and then buried it. That's how much time he had.
That's another one, like we said about Richarlison earlier. That shows you where Son is at this season, because last season it's in the bottom corner, even first time, even though he could have had a touch. It's just he's having a poor season.
Yeah, I think Rashford puts that in the top corner easily, probably.
Yeah,
it's a confidence thing. Can I just mention Fraser Forster, because I thought he made, and I think if he affected Bruno Fernandes, but I thought he made some really, really key saves coming off his line today, a couple of punches, and I think you're right. He's so much more. We are so much more comfortable back with him on the ball at his feet than Lloris. You could tell the moment Lloris came back in the team, there's panic stations, and I think Forster will see out the season now.
Lloris couldn't pass win, mate. He is awful on the ball. Forster's so much better than him, and that is the proof for me. That was the moment I've always thought, but you really realise some of these players are just getting their place back no matter what. Because we looked better. We were playing all right with Forster there. We weren't playing great, but we weren't as bad as we were when Lloris came back, because they don't trust him with the ball at their feet.
Well, even so, Gibbo, if you think about it, just look at the flight of the ball from Forster. Those 35-yard balls to the sideline, they're on a line. It's chest down, which is giving the player an extra step, an extra half second to do something before he gets closed down, as opposed to Lloris, who, even when he's accurate, it's a floating ball there. And so the players close down immediately. So it's just that little difference in your build-up.
Or he lofts it out of play.
Yeah. James, Kulusevski came on just after the hour for Richie. Probably his best performance for a while. Probably since the World Cup, I guess.
Mm-hmm. From what I saw, again, forgive me, I was playing pool during the game. I thought he looked positive. You know, as long as a player looks like they want to go, an attacking player or midfield player particularly, as long as they're looking like they want to do something with the ball and go forward, that's a good sign, right? Then it comes to end product. I think he looked like he was trying to accomplish something, and I think that's all you can ask. I think it's one of the better performances. He's been poor for a while, right? And I don't want to harp on any bandwagon and say blah 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 blah. He's overrated, because he's young. Every player has a spell of bad, form. But I think he was better. And I think that's that comes back to the mentality and confidence, doesn't it? That's these aren't players don't go from being good to bad magically in a couple of months, do they? Right? A lot of it is mentality. We've all had days where we have a bad mood and we do badly at work. or at school or whatever we do. You know, I know what that's like, right? And it's the same for football players. You know, if you're in a bad mood, you're not quite on the same level. Even if you want to be, that little bit of your subconscious isn't. You know, you're not making those split decisions subconsciously. You're having to think about it. You're overthinking, and then you make a mistake. If there's that little bit of confidence back in Kulu, he's going to play better. And I thought he was better. That's all. I think that's a large part of what it comes down to with a lot of our players, and Kulu in particular. You know, a young lad who's been thrown straight into the first team. Well, not necessarily thrown into the first team, but put in the first team. And yeah, you know, it must have been hard when he took a little bit dip in form. He maybe questioned himself. But yeah, I thought he was better today. I think he had some positive moments, and that's what we want to see, because we all know he's a good player. I don't think anyone questions that he is a good player. We've seen that. It's just a question of form, isn't it? So, yeah, but I think it was better, definitely.
I'm just going to answer this, Ian. This was a video we put up. I will put it in the comments and the description for this show that we got a video of the players walking around before, just as they arrived. They actually went the long way around to the pitch by the south stand, which normally they walk around the north stand with the shorter length, but they obviously went the long way for some reason. So, HG, we got the equaliser. Again, good movement down the right. Kane with a lovely ball, but it all came from Danjuma, who'd just come on. A bit like, was it Bournemouth game? When he was, no, not Bournemouth, the Brighton game. It was his pressing that seemed to cause the problem. De Gea gave it away from Danjuma pressing, so he had to kick it long.
Yeah,
and
he kicked it long, and
came to Kane and we scored.
I'm guessing it was Romero who headed it forward. I don't know who it was, but it was headed forward, and it went to Kane. And like from that moment on, like you're watching it on TV, you can see that Son's going to be free. Kane has one look up and then plays the ball across perfectly. That if that's not the brilliance of Kane again that we see week in, week out at Spurs. Like the goal came from nothing really. Yeah, okay, yes, we pressed a little bit. Yes, we won a header. But the ball fell into a good area to our best player, who found the in effect probably the second best finisher, and it went into. Even if he scuffed it in, I don't think any of us thought that someone was going to miss that. It was all about just diverting it away from De Gea, and he did that quite well. But yeah, again, I think the Dier miss was before that, right? So at 2-2, I'm thinking, great, we have got time to go on and win the game, and then we decided to defend.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was just a few minutes later we took Son. Well, Kane went down injured, which we were a little bit worried about. And then suddenly Son gets taken off. Tanganga comes on at right wing back. And I think we pretty much gave up the game then, didn't we?
Well, we had four centre-backs plus the wing-backs at that point, I think.
No, Tanganga was right wing back and Davis was left wing back. So we basically had 5 centre-backs. On the pitch.
So this is it. We have 5, but like it's weird. Like, if Conte's going to get crap for doing it in a Champions League game, like I understand tonight was less important, and I understand that, like, of course, you know, if we'd had that 1 point versus Bournemouth that we threw away, we'd be a point clear of Villa, and all those extra things that, you know, might help us later on. But I'm sorry, like
we could have won that.
We could have won that. We could have gone for it, and like. Had we lost 3-2, had United gone up the other end and scored, I think most people would have walked away from that game thinking, "Hey, we got at least we got it back to 2-2 and we went for it." Mm-hmm. Right? It just felt like Son for Mundle, like bring on Sarr, but not a defender, like not Tanganga. Yeah. I suppose we can be happy it wasn't Sanchez, but. It just like I'd have rather seen Lucas play right wing back at that point. Lucas was sat there.
Yeah.
Like we joked before the game about who we wanted to see, like before we ever saw Lucas come on as sub, but it just felt like we were content with 2-2, and
I think they were HG. Either. No, I don't like that HG, but I just got a feeling that they thought we just don't want to lose. We just need to. Which is obviously not the way we want to be thinking. It's certainly not the way I want to think, but you just got that impression, didn't you? That it's like, let's just break this cycle of losing. We've got back into this game now. But we all want us to be brave. I totally agree.
Fresh legs, but not a defender for an attacker. Like that just seems like, you know, like if you're winning 3-2, okay, fair enough. I would understand the logic, but this is the end of the season. We've got 5 games left. 3 points would have done the club the world of good.
Yeah.
1 point is great because we didn't get thrashed, and that is important. But it's just not what I want Spurs to be.
Yeah, I mean the Tanganga sub was the momentum for me, the momentum killer.
Yeah.
Just that's giving up the ghost.
I'm going to be honest, right? So I wasn't actually watching it where it was in a different pub, and I checked my phone. First 10 minutes, I'm in a Weatherspoons. I'm having something to eat, right? And I see
Christmas
1-0
Day.
Man U, and I'm just like, oh, God's sake. Anyway, we go to the next pub like a minute after that happens, where they're showing the football and there's a bunch of pool and snooker tables, and the game's on. And I'm just like, do I really want to watch this? And it goes 2-0. I'm like, ugh. And anyway, it's 2-2 later on, and I didn't even realise Tanganga had come on, and then a couple minutes later, I look at the game, and I see Tanganga's on. I'm like, hang on, who's got injured here? Is Dier injured or something? That was the first thought that came to my head, right?
Was that wishful thinking?
Well, that's what I thought. I was like, hang on, where's Tanganga playing? Why is he on? Has someone gotten injured at the back line? Because it's 2-2. Let's go for it, lads, And I go on BBC Sports, check. I was like, hang on. No. He's brought on another defender. I get it on some level because you want to get the point, right? You again, like Lucas trained in pre-season as a right wing back. You'd think he could probably tackle someone. I mean, Victor Moses could tackle someone. You'd hope he could stick a leg out. I don't know. Look, it was a point, and I kind of understand that Mason was probably thinking, just get the point, lads. On the one hand, because we're fifth, that's still Europa League. Europa League is much better than Conference League, remember? Let's not forget that. And again, on that side of the argument, it isn't just that we necessarily dropped 2 points, it's that United also dropped 2 points. And if they'd won, they'd have won 3 points. They'd be 2 points better off and we'd be 1 point worse off. So I get that. But I get it. It's painful because you see Moura on the bench and, I'm not Moura's biggest fan. I don't think he should be here next season. But you think, last 5 minutes.
He's leaving.
Roll of the dice, isn't it? It's a roll of the dice.
Like, if you want to be really awful, right, you could sit there and say Ryan Mason's motto is to dare is to defend, right? Because, I'm sorry.
Or he's paid by the point.
That is harsh. But the point that Keith's made here, that he said he wants the job full time, well, I guess now he's got a comeback on his CV, and if we can't find someone else that may just no, go out and win the sodding game. It's not about the game is about glory. It's not about sneaking a 2-2 against a team that could have easily scored, but they were more likely to score when we just sat back. They had the entire ball for the last 10 minutes, pretty much.
Yep.
So that will never sit right with me. We weren't leading the game. I want to go and win the game. Let's actually try and win the game. Do nothing would have been better than that, in my opinion.
United are on 60 points off 31 games. We're on 54 off 33.
Yeah,
so they've got 2 games in hand and 6 points.
Yeah, we're not
in
catching.
hand. So if we had any chance, which I appreciate we'd all pretty much written off the Champions League, that chance went there. We had to try and get those 3 points. We had momentum. Yes, they're very dangerous on the attack, but you sort of had to. 1 point is a bit meh, isn't it? Although the overall confidence is a good thing.
It's gone. The players know it. That's how that game. Sorry, Jack. That's how that game felt to me. That's how Spurs, they know that top four's gone. So now it's basically what will be will be. Let's get through this season.
But if I'm Man United and I lose the game tonight, oh well, now I'm only 3 points clear with 2 games in hand. It's not a big thing for them either. It's just what are we nervous about here? There are plenty of Spurs fans out there that would say, hey, finishing 8th wouldn't be so bad, right? That we don't have to worry about European football. I'm not one of them, but there are plenty out there who do. There are people, as we said at the start, people on TalkSport went out there and said they wanted Spurs to lose before the game started. So if the team showed a great deal of effort to get back into the game, and then it was like, okay, now we're going to cut your balls off. That just won't sit with me. I never want to see that.
Yeah. Okay. Last question is this one that came quite early. Lindelof. Well, it's not really a question, is it? I mean, I definitely thought it was a second booking. Jack, do you think the second booking should have been a red card?
So I think everyone agrees that had that happened and he wasn't on a card, he would have been booked, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it was a yellow card. It was a cynical foul. He had no chance. He grabbed him, he hacked him, brought him down. Right? So I've seen that not called as a second yellow more times than I can count, and it all comes down to officials lacking balls. That's all it is. I mean, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. It happens all the time, but it's a form of gutless refereeing, you could argue, or you could say he's feeling the temperature of the game. It wasn't that big a deal. It's not worth sending off. It goes both ways all the time. It would have been great, but I'm not surprised. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time worrying about it. I mean, yeah, I hear you, Stevie, but at the same time, I mean, that I'm done. I'm just kind of over complaining about the officials. It's just, it is what it is.
It's a rugby tackle, right? It's poor defending. He's too close. He gets turned. He brings him down. Anywhere else, any other time of the game, that's a yellow card. Mm-hmm. It's one of those weird things. I don't like games when it goes 11 versus 10 because it's going to be attack versus defense, and they're not usually good games to watch. But those are the rules, right? As much as I might enjoy seeing 11 versus 11. If there is a red card, and rightfully so, then okay, you deal with it. But to decide that actually it's not worthy of a red right now because the game's finally poised and I've got an audience to think of. No, you've got the rule book to think of. That's what it comes down to. And
you're right.
And Jake is right. Spurs have benefited from that over time. Romero's missed out on a number of red cards that he probably should have had. But yeah. That is definitely a second yellow, and I mean, I think Seb said before the game, Anthony Taylor is from Manchester. I don't believe any of that nonsense, but he is from Manchester, and so you just why can't we have refereeing according to the rule book?
Yeah. Okay. Right. Quick one. Jack, James, and Gibbo won't be here tomorrow. So I want your predictions for Spurs-Liverpool on Sunday. Jack, I'll start with you. Liverpool Spurs.
I'll give it. I think Spurs will lose the game, but I think that the contest can be tight. It's probably a 2-1, 3-1 victory to Liverpool. Maybe we're pushed for a late goal and we get caught out for the 3-1 loss.
James?
Now, this might just be the several pints I've had talking, I believe.
I think you've answered your own point there.
3-2 Spurs. I believe. We're going to go 2-0 down, right? Then we're going to win it. We're going to win it in the 87th minute. It's going to be a late comeback. Ryan Mason and Harry Kane at half-time, they're going to give the lads a bollocking. And we're going to win 3-2. I believe. I'm going to be at home on Sunday. Actually, I'm going to be on my grandparents on Sunday, so I might not be able to watch the match. So that'll be unfortunate, but I believe sincerely we're going to win 3-2.
Gibbo?
Sorry, lads. I think it'll be not a really, really heavy defeat, but I think it'll be a very comfortable win for Liverpool. 3-4. They'll take us to the cleaners.
HG and I will discuss this tomorrow evening. Okay. I do think Cody Gakpo is looking like a really good signing, and he for Liverpool, unfortunately. But also, Jack Flatcat will be with us as he is every other week. Mr. Enic out. Davo will be joining us live from Sydney, and we have a little special guest as well for those who've been following the Cheeseman for a long time. Can
you play Davo Bingo? Obviously, like Nagelsmann reminds him of AVB.
Can you draw up a little?
Yeah.
Gibbo,
Davo Bingo.
Do a little drawing for me. I'll see if we can make it into a graphic somehow. Yeah. We can put it up.
Have some Davo Bingo.
Maybe we'll get cooler drinking each time he does it, and then just see how.
Yeah.
Because maybe get
Shot
Brendan on as well.
fine.
That's entertaining, isn't it?
You know, hey, I'm noticing. I just kind of pick. I don't look at the bottom of the table that much, but I just realized all 3 promoted teams look like they might survive. How many times is that?
Yeah, I mean, Southampton are
Bournemouth,
looking.
and Fulham,
Southampton are
yeah.
not in a good state at all.
How many? I know what was it, 17, 18 that happened, but I don't think it's happened that many times.
I'm just gonna try and scroll in.
Anyway, let's start. I was just looking at the table, and I just realized.
I will just
There's a
share my screen if I can. Oh, window. That one. There we go. Share. There you go. Can you see that all right? So, yeah, it's all very close. I mean, I think it's some Leeds down. It's Leeds, Forest, Leicester, Everton, Southampton. I think Forest will probably get a couple of wins. So, Leeds 30 points, minus 21 goals. Forest 30 points, minus 31 goals. Leicester 29 points. Everton 28. And Southampton 24. I just can't see Southampton getting out of it.
No.
And HG's desperate for Leicester to go down, even though Brendan's gone.
Hey, still his fault. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I mean,
Leicester Everton. Leicester
Dean
Everton.
Smith's a strange signing, I think, for me. I just think Everton will get out of it with Dyche, but maybe they won't. They got a real battering tonight, but as we know, Newcastle are a very good team.
Ooh, that's gonna. I actually might watch that. The Monday night is Leicester Everton. That might be fun.
0-0 board draw, Center both down.
Yeah, don't watch that. Watch the cheese room instead. That's all you need to know, isn't it?
It'll be an entertaining show, I promise everybody. Don't watch the
Well,
football
hopefully we'll win 3-2 with a late winner in the
Yeah,
maybe
Tanganga will come off the bench and score,
If we do win 3-2, I promise I'll be here on Monday. And even if we don't, I might still be here on Monday.
Can I send you a bank draft and you can make that bet for me?
How much?
I don't know. What is it worth?
I have no money.
A tenner?
If
if I make a bank draft to you, I could send you a tenner and you could make that bet for me because I can't do that from here.
If you're an adult with a job, I'm a university student. I ain't got money to spare, mate.
Well, yeah,
I think he said he'll send you the money.
I'll send you a bank draft.
Okay. If we win 3-2, you'll send me the money. All right.
No.
The bet. He'll send you money to put a bet on because he can't do it.
Oh, all right. Yeah, got you.
You can't online bet in the States, Jack?
No. I mean, there are not in my state technically.
Okay.
What state are you in, Jack?
North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay.
Of course, I could have Isaiah place me a bet on 3-2 win at Liverpool, but I would think I'd get excellent odds
than giving it to the alcoholic one there.
I'm not an alcoholic. Look, I've had this conversation. Alcoholics go to meetings. I go to the pub. I don't show up for
meeting in the pub.
I don't go to the university or my job drunk. I show up sober. I just like going to the pub in the evening. I'm perfectly functional sober. I did a month sober. I'm perfectly functional sober. I just enjoy. Actually, I didn't go to the pub. Today it wasn't that. It was a society meetup. That's what it was.
At the pub.
The location was a committee decision.
The public house.
President.
I mean, there are lots of pubs in Portsmouth, to be fair, HG.
I am willing to accept the committee's judgment. Just because, hey, where else is there a snooker table or a pool table other than a pub?
Or a snooker club.
Well, the thing about that is they also serve refreshments. So
they do indeed. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, please do like and subscribe. We'll be back at 9:00 tomorrow. Myself, HG, Davo, Jack, and our special guest. And I'm going to say, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.